The year is 1914. Our main character, a young Englishman with no name, has been on a boat for 67 days. He's traveling to a remote island in the South Atlantic to work as a weather observer for a year. On the last day of the trip, while smoking by the railing, the captain asks him what he's running away from. The captain says that's the first thing they ask anyone who decides to go to sea. The Englishman doesn't answer. They arrive at the island, and the crew helps him carry his things to the cabin where he'll stay. He notices there are no birds around, and the captain points out that no weather official is there to greet them. They enter the cabin, which looks like it's been abandoned for a long time. The captain thinks it's unsafe and suggests the Englishman shouldn't stay, but the man insists. He's staying. Even though it's not part of his job, the captain helps the Englishman explore the area. On their way to a lighthouse they saw from a distance, they find a fountain with a message carved into the rocks. Gruner owns this fountain. The captain sends his crew back to the boat and continues with the Englishman. Soon, they reach the lighthouse, which is crudely fortified. When no one answers their knocks and calls, they break in by forcing the door open. Upstairs, they find an old man sleeping. This is Gruner. He mumbles something about going back to the water before getting out of bed. When the captain asks about the previous weather observer, Alder Vigeland, who he was supposed to take back, Gruner says he died of typhus. He claims Vigeland left one day and never returned. Since Gruner isn't helpful, the two men leave. The Englishman still wants to stay, so before the captain returns to his boat, he offers his gun to the Englishman. The Englishman refuses it, says goodbye, and goes to his cabin to clean up and set up his weather tools. In the desk drawer, he finds a journal left by the previous observer. He decides to read it by the fire. The first few pages are normal, with notes about the plants and animals on the island. There's also a photo of a woman in a wedding dress. The back says, Mrs. Vigeland, and love, 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 meaning she was the previous observer's wife. But soon, the journal gets strange. There are notes and drawings of sea creatures that attack humans, along with a chilling remark, Darwin was wrong. The next day, while doing his weather readings on the beach, the Englishman finds circles of rocks filled with shells on the sand. The shapes are too precise to be natural. That night, while eating dinner in the cabin, he hears strange noises outside, growls and thuds against the wooden walls. He slowly approaches the door when a monster's paw appears under it, matching the drawings in the journal. Hearing more creatures climbing on the house, he rushes to the basement and locks the door. He spies on what's happening through a hole in the wood. When he sees a creature looking back at him, he stabs it with a knife through the hole. The creatures are still outside, so the Englishman ties the door handle to the stairs and spends the night in the basement. The next morning, he comes out to find blood on the floor and strange footprints in the sand. He runs to the lighthouse but can't open the door this time. After calling for Gruner a few times, the old man finally opens a window and throws water at him, refusing to let him in. Gruner tells him he should have stayed on the boat. Back at the cabin, the Englishman prepares for the night. He seals all the windows and surrounds the cabin with a circle of wood and books, which he covers with lamp oil. Once inside, he locks the door and loads a rifle. The creatures arrive soon after, jumping on the windows and door, slowly breaking through the reinforcements. The Englishman shoots a few, but there are too many. He lights a torch with a lamp and throws it on the wood and paper circle around the house, starting a fire that scares the monsters away. However, the fire gets out of control, and the cabin catches fire. The man has no choice but to leave, burning his hand in the process. He spends the night behind beach rocks as rain begins to fall. The next morning, he returns to the cabin and finds it destroyed. After wrapping his wounded hand with a handkerchief, he takes the rifle and sneaks around to follow Gruner to the fountain. Just as he's about to shoot Gruner, a sea creature, a female wearing a sweater, jumps on him. He pushes her off and points his rifle at her, but Gruner finds them and points his weapon at the Englishman. The Englishman doesn't back down. He threatens the creature, forcing Gruner to lower his weapon. Gruner asks what he wants, and the Englishman says it's obvious. Gruner finally agrees to let the Englishman stay with him in the lighthouse after the Englishman lists all the supplies he can share. The Englishman explains that the creature is harmless and proves it by calling her over like a dog. She obeys. Before leaving for the cabin, Gruner decides to name the Englishman Friend. At the cabin, they gather as many supplies as they can. Friend tells Gruner he thinks the previous weatherman didn't die of typhus, he was left alone in the cabin and the creatures took him. He thinks that should count as a crime on Gruner's part, but Gruner neither confirms nor denies it. He just says they need to go, night is coming. Days later, Friend is sleeping in the lighthouse when the creature licks his burned hand. Her saliva has healing properties. Gruner enters and tells him he's been asleep for about 2 days, even wetting his pants. They go upstairs and count their bullets while talking about the creature. Gruner can't truly communicate with her, only give orders. She's like a dog that always returns to her master, no matter how cruel he is. Friend is fascinated by her and talks about the theory of isolated sea creatures evolving in their own way to survive. Gruner doesn't like this talk and interrupts him. Gruner takes Friend to the balcony and explains that the creatures hate light, whether artificial or natural. Friend asks why Gruner didn't leave on the boat that brought him 4 days ago. Gruner replies that if civilization is so great, why did Friend leave it? He prefers the island, where he's the master of his own destiny. Friend says he'll stay but will signal the first boat that comes by. Gruner laughs, saying they're not on a commercial route. The lighthouse was only built to divert funds. Days pass as Friend tries to restart his life. He sets up a hammock in the lighthouse and finds an old diving suit in a chest. He starts marking the days on the wall and grows friendlier with the creature, whom he names Anaris. At night, Gruner tells him to grab his rifle and takes him to the balcony, where torches are lit and the lighthouse lamp shines brightly. Gruner explains how to fight the creatures: only shoot when they're close, and killing a few will make the others eat each other. Their own creature, Anaris, is on the balcony above, making loud noises. Friend wonders if the creatures are attacking to rescue her. When the monsters arrive, Gruner starts attacking, but fear overwhelms Friend, and he steps back inside, passing out. The next morning, Gruner angrily tells Friend he won't tolerate dead weight, no matter how much food and alcohol he brings. He sends Friend to fetch water. When Friend returns, he discovers Gruner has been sleeping with Anaris. That night, Gruner gives Friend one last chance. He takes him to the balcony again, but this time, when the creatures come, Gruner steps back inside, locking Friend out. The next morning, he finds Friend covered in blood but alive and victorious. They settle into a routine. Friend does chores during the day, and they fight off creatures at night. Friend reflects on why he came to the island, to find peace in nothingness, but instead, he's found hell. 2 weeks pass without creature attacks. Friend starts collecting whale bones for carving and grows closer to Anaris, even naming her. One night, they forget to turn on the lights during a chess game and are nearly overrun by creatures. They barely survive, but Gruner's leg is injured. The next morning, while Anaris heals Gruner's wound, Friend points out they're running out of ammunition. Later, Friend finds a necklace on the beach and sees a boat in the distance. He runs to the lighthouse for a flare gun, but Gruner stops him, saying he doesn't want more people on the island. Anaris growls at Gruner to protect Friend. Days later, Friend overhears Gruner yelling at and hitting Anaris, who runs out of the lighthouse. Friend follows her and shows her a whalebone boat he carved. Anaris recognizes the shape and leads him to an abandoned boat on the beach. Friend tells Gruner about the boat, but Gruner already knew. He says it's pointless to leave. Friend would die of starvation or a creature attack. Gruner explains the boat belonged to a Portuguese man who escaped a shipwreck but was killed by the monsters. The ship was carrying dynamite, which Gruner believes is waterlogged. Friend suggests using a diving suit to retrieve the dynamite and exterminate the creatures. Gruner refuses, calling it a suicide mission. The next day, Friend works on fixing the boat. He hears Anaris singing in the fountain and joins her in the water, which Gruner sees and becomes jealous. Later, Gruner throws the diving suit at Friend, saying he's changed his mind, a clear attempt to get rid of Friend. They take the boat to the shipwreck, and Friend dives underwater, finding the dynamite. He connects it to a rope for Gruner to pull up, but 2 child creatures knock him down. Running out of air, Friend signals for help, but Gruner ignores him. Friend escapes the suit and swims back to the boat. Back at the lighthouse, they open the dynamite boxes. One is waterlogged, but the others are fine. They bury the dynamite in 2 lines outside the house, one close to the walls. Winter arrives, and a week passes without attacks. One morning, Friend finds Gruner on the balcony, nearly frozen, with his hand on the detonator. Friend snaps him out of it and disconnects the wires. 3 weeks pass without attacks. Gruner hits Anaris, thinking she warned the creatures, and decides to set a trap. That night, Friend stays by the open door surrounded by lamps, while Gruner takes Anaris to the balcony to make her sing. When the wind blows out some lamps, the creatures attack. Friend fights his way upstairs, shooting them, while Gruner tries to detonate the dynamite. Friend reconnects the wires, and the first line of dynamite explodes, killing most of the creatures. Excited, Gruner pulls the lever again, ignoring Friend's warnings, and sets off the second line, knocking them both out. The next morning, they survey the damage. Gruner finishes off any surviving creatures, but Friend can't bring himself to kill one when he finds a bone necklace on it, a sign of intelligence. Gruner throws the necklace into the water. That night, the creatures don't come, but they hear Anaris crying on the beach. Gruner explains he found her as a baby, trapped in a net, and says she always cries but comes back. Friend thinks she's mourning. The next day, he sees 2 child creatures in the sea and tries to befriend them by making a circle of stones with the bone boat in the middle. Back at the lighthouse, Gruner reloads their rifles with fake bullets to inspire fear. Friend ignores him and checks on the bone boat with binoculars. It's still there. The next morning, Friend finds Gruner drunk and asleep. A deck of cards has fallen, and inside the box, he finds the same photo of the woman from the cabin, but this time with her husband. The words "love, love, love" are on the back. Friend realizes Gruner is a fake name. The previous weatherman didn't die. Gruner is the previous weatherman, driven mad by loss and isolation. Upset, Friend erases the day count on the wall. Later, Friend finds the stone circle empty. The creatures took the bone boat. He sees a child creature in the distance and leaves a torch in the circle, backing away with his hands up to show he means no harm. The young creature approaches, and soon, others appear, including Anaris, who looks more confident. The child is about to give the bone boat to Friend when Gruner shoots his rifle. Friend tells Gruner to back off, saying the creatures are friendly. Gruner orders Anaris to return, but she disobeys. Enraged, Gruner runs back to the lighthouse, muttering, "Nobody leaves Gruner." Gruner leaves. Friend tries to befriend the creatures again, but Gruner shoots the child from the balcony. The creatures flee into the water, including Anaris, who shares one last look with Friend. Friend attacks Gruner in the lighthouse, but Gruner gains the upper hand. As Gruner is about to strike with an axe, Friend uses his real name, saying, "Alder Vigeland is not a murderer." Struck by these words, Gruner repeats, "Love, love, love," before opening the door and surrendering to the creatures. Friend closes the door, knowing Gruner is gone. Time passes, and 3 officers arrive at the lighthouse to replace Friend with a new weatherman. They mistake Friend for Gruner, and Friend doesn't correct them. He tells them the weatherman died of typhus. The officer scolds him for the state of the room and informs him they're at war. Friend goes to the balcony and sees ships in the distance. The movie ends with Anaris running along the beach before jumping back into the water.